look at this exercise to get a little character essay for the process. I'm going to start timing myself. Let's go. 30 minutes. Okay, so I'm in the read and refine stage of this process. Program runs in a REPL. It's fine to use Ruby or JavaScript. Your job is to return the middle character. If the length of the word is odd, return the middle character. If the word's length is even, return the two middle characters, and these are my acceptance criteria. Okay, my plan is probably along the lines of keep it as simple as possible and do one thing at a time. So there's clearly two different branches to this logic. There's an odd case and a even case. I think the odd case is going to be easier, so I'm going to start with that one first. I'm going to try and just run a method by itself, and I'm going to start from there. I think my plan is to use this acceptance criteria as my definition of done, and just keep that as a set of tests that I'll just put in to begin with, and I'll just focus on bits at a time. Okay, so I'm going to go into and probably before I get into my test, I'm going to go into my plan phase, which is just, I guess, part of setup. And so I think I just made an empty directory. I've got absolutely nothing here. Let's just double check. Absolutely nothing. Okay, so let's assume I'm going to run it as like a normal project. So I guess the first thing I'm going to do is just initiate automatically. Right, so you're going to jump onto it so I can manage my dependencies, and then I'm going to have a look at it and just, oh, that's really big. Make sure I have a testing framework to be able to use. Make sure my projects can correctly know what version it is. And I'm going to use it to initialize my testing framework. It doesn't have to be, there's a lot of bloat that comes with the spec helper. I don't really need a lot of what's in here. It's just a bunch of noise, really. You can actually just delete it. But I just don't care and leave it, keep it simple. And maybe just quickly get some nice formatting. And here we go. Okay, so then I guess my first test is the assertions for the acceptance criteria. So let's just call this get middle spec. And at some point I'm going to require a file, which is probably going to be auto-loaded by RSpec from the lib folder, and I am going to be clear, RSpec loads or auto-loads the lib folder. I actually require specifically the file, so let's just call it get middle. And let's write a test that is my set of acceptance criteria. I'm terrible at naming, but there we are. The program is saying words like that. Tax was the first, I'm just kidding. Okay, what is this set? If I can do all of the following, I am good to go. So I'm just going to grab these. That's what it says I need to do. To be able to pass this test. It means I'm done if this passes. I'm just going to leave it like that, but clearly there'd be a better definition for this, a test description. Okay, so how do I wrap it in RSpec? It's going to be something like expect get middle test to equal, and then something like that, right? Oh, that's clearly not right. What are you doing? Just like that, okay, cool. So maybe let's just replicate that. Expect that to equal, and cool. So if this test will show you that I'm done, right? if I run the methods, all of those, if this passes, boom, thanks for hearing. Maybe I want to focus one at a time. So that would be my feature test. And if I wanted to just do one at a time, I'm going to probably focus on, well, I can write it out. I'll just comment it out one at a time. I think that's probably the simplest way to do it at the moment. So maybe for the first one, I just am going to focus on that one. Right. Expect get middle testing to equal t. That feels reasonable. Okay, so I guess what I need to do is just making sure everything's connected properly. I'm going to make sure. I expect the error if I run this. Hopefully, will be something along the lines of I can't find this file because I haven't made it. So let's go ahead and run my tests. Cool. So it says I can't load the file. Get middle. So I'm going to now create the folder and then create get middle. So what does it say next? Okay, let's run it again. So it'll gives us define it, def get middle. Let's just keep it super nice and simple. Boom, one number of arguments. And it's going to take some kind of string, right? Got nil, expected t. Okay, great. Now one version of this you just write the hard-coded, pass the test, boom, go home. But the idea is then, okay, cool, let's comment this one out and try and run it again. You're going to get one failure, right? So let's just make sure we have a proper test for that. I need to do something with the string, right? And we have to create some basic if statement that says something along the lines of if string length. Let's take it from the actual parents. If it's odd, return a null character. That's what I'm trying to do, right? That's the first part, and the second part is going to be this one here. That's what I need to do. So I'm trying to convert that into code. It's going to look something along the lines of if string dot length dot odd, do something, else do the other thing, right? Because that's just it's even and odd, right? Do the other thing, aka even. I can't type. Look at that thing. There we are. Okay. So if the string length is odd, the simplest way to do this is let's have a look. String. I need to have a look at the sort of like the middle part. So the pattern is something along the lines of if it's a length 3, then I want to get the second character, right? So one could also describe this as another part. Let's go over the pattern. It's length 5. I want to get the third character. And let's use index as well. Not just second character, but I guess index 1. And if we have the third character in 5, it's going to be index 2. So I think there's a nice pattern here where I can, how do I get, because essentially I want to do something like this, right? Get like middle index, which is call it index, and that should give me let's label it nicely, something like this, middle index. I want to do that. I notice I'm always working backwards, right? Like what do I want to have? How do I get middle index? So middle index is going to be something along the lines of string length. So that's the number on the left of that hash rocket, 5. How do I get 2 from 5 or 3 from 1? It's always like divided by 2 and then rounded down, right? So Ruby does integer division, and so we can just divide the length by 2. So let's have a look at that. Mean I am done. I don't trust this sometimes. I'm like, oh, what if I just do? So sometimes I want to break it. Maybe if I did like divide by 3, does that fail it? Should do, right? Nice. And cool. It's getting like a different letter. So maybe other things that we can do is like log it out, right? So let's do something like, let's do p string dot length followed by middle. Can I do that with that method p? Clearly I can't do it there. I need to do it here. 7 and 3. Okay. So if we add in our pattern here, we're on the right track. So you can see that we're getting it's the fourth character, but at index 3. Because it's 0 indexed rather we count from 1. Yeah. So it looks like we've solved that part of the branch. Now just to double check, we can go back to our specs and just like make sure the other odd cases are passing. Nice. Let's get rid of that logging because that's really irritating me now. Boom. Okay. We could even add in some more tests if we wanted to, just to like double check. Like get middle. Let's do like. I'm really not able to think at the moment. So let's just do. Let's do ed. Word that's 6. Edwards, great. Okay, so what's the middle one is the A. Nice. Okay, so passing all the tests that I'm running. I could do them individually, but I don't really worry too much. I'm driving my development where I'm writing the most minimal test possible of code at the moment. Okay, what else do I need to do? Get a middle string. I need to do the other side of the branch. This is done, so I'm going to delete my notes. I'll think about refactoring later. Get rid of, I'll leave that for a moment. Okay, so else, then we need to think about this pattern. So we have the string. Oh, I liked that pattern actually. Let's just keep that for a moment and see how that extends. So let's say, for example, it's 4, 6. Now, what happens in this situation? Well, I want to get the middle 2, right, which is 1 and it's 2 and 3. There's the number of characters, and the index is going to be one behind, which is 1 and 2. Sorry, this is confusing now. I probably should just do it as the index positions. So if we look at, to explain this a little bit more fully, if we do something like, we count from 1 to 3 and 4, but this is also the same as, in terms of index, 0 indexed, 0, 1, 2, 3. So the index is 1 and 2. Those are the 2 middle ones. So that's one thing to think about. 2 and 3, and 3 and 4. So if we divide by 2, we get the cell on the left, and then we subtract 1 from that, we get both of those numbers. We will subtract the 1 first, and then add it. So it's going to be something like middle index, and middle x, and then we've got -1 on this side first. We have to return those things together, right? So I guess one way to do it is just something like that, just add the strings together. And notice I've just been doing this on the wrong side, so I'm just going to undo what I just did and do it here. Cool. Sound good? If it's odd, we grab the middle index and then return it from the string. If it's otherwise, or if it's odd, we get the 2, add them together, and then return it. Let's see what happens. Great. So let's just then make sure, break my test. Sometimes I don't trust anything. It's always good practice. And something is, so that, keep it as is, because my specs I haven't, let's make sure we have those ones being tested properly. Okay, and let's break them. Good, they are broken. So that is that, let's just make sure we run all the specs. That is this kata solved. Okay, a little refactoring step, because now I've implemented, you can have a quick refactor. Some of the things that I see here very quickly are like this repetition, so I'll probably move this out. Looks like I could do something along the lines of returning a range, so I could do something like that perhaps. Just make sure nothing is like super broken for my tests. Of course, everything's still passing. Just making sure. Again, every time you make, I like to just double check things are breaking when they need to. Cool. So that's one way of going about refactoring that. Well, anything else that I can see is along the lines of, yes, you probably could do something like that. I just don't like that as much. That's like incredibly wordy and it doesn't really give you. Sometimes like an if else statement is actually much more readable. That looks like just a mess. So I'm actually going to keep it back as it was. That reads better. If it's odd, do that thing. Otherwise, do this. Cool. I'm happy with that. I'm done. Run the tests. Happy days. Now I have to worry about how I close this thing.